Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the True Life Podcast. I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. I hope the sun is shining. I hope the birds are singing. I hope the wind is at your back. I have a bit of a scheduling error today, but I had a wonderful guest lined up, but sometimes life works in mysterious ways and that doesn't happen. However, I have an incredible topic that's kind of been on top of my mind, and I'm excited to talk about my guest who's in the world of fashion and technology. This topic is it's really fascinating to think about. When you start thinking about the merger of fashion and technology and beauty, this idea of beauty. First off, maybe we should define what beauty is. And let me ask you guys this question. When you think of something beautiful, what do you think of? Do you think about your kids? Do you think about your spouse? You think about the time when you were young and you and your dad got some ice cream, or maybe you think about the time at school when you fell in love for the first time, or when you saw someone and your heart stopped. Maybe that's a beautiful moment. Maybe it's looking down at your grandkids or thinking about your future. I think that on some level, it's imperative that we wrap the ideas of beauty around fashion. Like, I think fashion on some level should have a beauty to it, even if it's a dangerous beauty. Sometimes you see that person that you look at and they're a little bit dangerous and it catches your eye. That's sort of a dangerous beauty there. And I bring up these ideas about fashion and beauty because in this world of AI and technology, we're kind of seeing all these things sort of meet in the middle. And I'm curious to get everyone's opinion on what might be the future of fashion, technology, and beauty. It seems that this is my opinion. It seems to me that the idea of fashion, and look, I'm not an expert on fashion by any means. I mean, I like to think I'm a pretty decent guy, but I don't know anything too much about fashion. But it seems to me we have gone through a period in the 90s and the 2000s where fashion just became this homogenized style of how much money can we make. And while fashion and money definitely go together, I think it's very unfashionable for large corporations to try to dress the world in the most lucrative garb. And by that, I mean, just sort of fast fashion. I'll tell you guys a quick story. As a UPS driver, I used to deliver to the mall here. There's a mall called Ala Moana. And in this mall, they have all like the best stores, or all the most fashionable stores, like Louis Vuitton, Diane Furstenberger, and they have all these just super high-end stores. And as a UPS driver, I would spend my time through the back tunnels, knocking on the back doors and delivering the stuff. And I'll never forget one time I messed up an order. Like I dropped off a box of shoes that was supposed to go to like this sort of Payless type store, like a really easy kind of a footwear store. I dropped those shoes off at the Jimmy Choo store. And I dropped off the box and the girl signed for them, and it was cases of shoes. It was probably like 40 boxes of what I thought were Jimmy Choo shoes, but they were actually like these Payless shoes. And so about 5 minutes after I left that store, my phone started blowing up and the office is calling me and they're like, "George, what did you do?" And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "You dropped off the wrong shoes, the wrong store." And I'm like, "I did?" And I looked down at the packages and I realized, oh yeah, I messed up that order. And I started thinking to myself, why did I mess up that order? And I go, oh, they were in the exact same box, like the exact same packaging, the exact same wrapping, coming from the exact same country. And so I go, oh, honest mistake on my part. They looked exactly the same. And so I go back to the Jimmy Choo shop and the girl just ripped my head off. Like, do you have any idea how expensive these shoes are? Do you know what you did? Just read me the riot act, right? And so I just apologized. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. And then I pointed out to her, I go, look, the reason this happened is these items, they all come in the exact same box in the exact same place. So when I looked down at the label, I saw the exact same thing. And she's like, they are not the exact same thing. And I'm like, well, why do they come in the exact same boxes? Why are they coming from the exact same place? She's like, they're not the same. I'm like, I get it. They're not the same. But the reason I bring up this story is because it seems to me that fashion has hoodwinked everybody. When you have these giant stores that are claiming to be this brand, it's like, look how great we are. Look at these models that we have. But really, fashion doesn't really, it seems to me, modern day big corporate fashion doesn't care anything about beauty. All they care about is the beauty of profiting. And so I'll get my next guest on here probably next week or something, and we're going to talk about beauty and tech, because she's talking about disrupting fashion. And I think it's an easy thing to do. Fashion is a dinosaur. Like, look at the people that are involved in fashion. Like Kim Kardashian is fashion. Like, that girl's like the least fashionable person, because I think fashion should have something to do with integrity. See, now when we wrap around integrity around fashion, we get back to something beautiful. Like, fashion shouldn't be representing people with low morality or zero ethics. Like, fashion should be highlighting the very top people that are in shape, that are beautiful, that have something to say about the world at large, that have something to say about culture. That is beautiful. When you think about fashion, you should think about your daughter's ideals of what she wants the world to look like. That's fashionable. When you think about fashion, you should think about how your son can go out and make the world a better place. That's fashionable. And these two ideas need to reunite, I think. And so when we talk about beauty tech, I think that we can wrap the idea of technology, or at least weave technology into the world of fashion. And I hope it happens. I think there's a lot of cool things that we can do. A question to everybody listening right now might be, in your view, how does technology alter the essence of beauty and fashion? Do you believe it enhances the innate human experience, or does it risk overshadowing the authentic, natural aspects of these industries? That's a pretty deep question to think about. So as you're listening to this and you're thinking about the idea of beauty and fashion, like, does technology represent something that sort of, I don't know, overshadows the authentic beauty of a person? If you have to lay technology on something, does it cover up beauty, or is it something that can enhance beauty? Sometimes when we look at people on TV, they put powder on their face so that they can stop the glare from happening, because that seems to be something that is unattractive. I guess that's sort of technology in a way. Like, if you look up makeup as a technology, or some people, I have tattoos. Like, I think tattoo is sort of a technology that tells a story. So maybe in a way we already have a relationship with beauty and technology, but it's something to think about. What do you guys think? What about innovation and identity? How do you see the role of innovation in shaping individual and cultural identities within the fashion and beauty sectors? It's something to think about. I know that people who are fortunate enough to travel to different parts of the world, they often find themselves in this state of awe. Like, when you look around and you find yourself in a new cultural dynamic, and the dress is different, and the buildings are different, and the attitude is different. There's something different in the air. That seems to be beautiful to me. That seems to be a way in which we can understand the innovation and identity. I remember when I first came to Hawaii, it was the first time I saw it. There was a young woman that was holding an umbrella to keep the sun off of her. And I was like, man, I've never seen an umbrella used like that. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, it's a brilliant idea. It's really hot. Why wouldn't you want some shade? But where I came from, the only time you use an umbrella was when it was raining. So I think that there are ways we can innovate items that we already have that are fashionable. It's just imagination, I think. What about future vision? Imagining the future. What is your most ambitious vision for a convergence of fashion, beauty, and technology? Here's one that I was kind of thinking about. Curious to get your guys' opinion on. What about, can you imagine in the future, and we kind of already have this, but what about like immersive shopping experiences? Like, if you think about it now, you can go on Amazon and you can use AI to sort of look at a shirt and try it on a little bit. It's not the same thing. You can't tell how it fits on you. You can't tell if it kind of drapes off of you. But maybe if you had like an avatar, you could see how it looked on them. You could get an idea of it. The same way the Apple Store only has a few shirts out there, or a few devices for you to look at. Maybe that's the future of fashion retail, is that people go in and there's only a handful of garments out there, and you just kind of go in and check them out. I don't know. It's something to think about. What about bioengineered fashion? What if we could bioengineer our skin to change color, or this is kind of out there, or texture like a chameleon, effectively turning our bodies into living fashion statements? That might be the evolution of the tattoo right there, right? Imagine if you could, on some level, bioengineer fashion. Or what about smart fabric? Like that could be a thing too, right? Like what if your fabric could change from something breathable, like a light, sort of a thin fabric on a hot day, and then as the temperature began to grow colder towards evening, that particular fabric could kind of coagulate or something and become a thicker type of fabric. I don't know. There's a lot of cool things on the forefront of it, but I just wanted to get out today and talk a little bit about what could be coming in the future with fashion and beauty and technology. And hope to have my guest on coming next week, but I didn't want to leave everybody hanging. I hope everybody has a beautiful day. I hope the sun is shining, and I hope you realize that you're a beautiful person and that the world we're moving into is going to be defined by the actions that you put out there. So when you think about technology, try to think about beauty and try to be fashionable about it. That's all we got, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you have a beautiful day. Aloha.